Alright guys, we're going to do a project today. I'm going to do these little cook set or silverware set. I'm actually going to make 3 videos. I'll do a video on each one. I just made up my first batch of these yesterday. It was a kind of an interesting project. Didn't take a whole lot of steel, just used 3/8 rebar and you know, some good technical work to make all this happen. So I'm going to go ahead and create 3 videos. We'll start off, we'll do this one. This is one of the most difficult ones because you have to split the fork. We'll do the fork here right now, and then check the other 2 videos out. I'll show you the spoon and I'll show you the knife. So watch this one. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and square this rebar off. If I had some 5/16 or 1/4 inch square stock, I'd save all this work. But we got to use what we got. Hitting it off the edge of the anvil here to draw it out a little bit, get those marks, the rebar marks out, and just square that off. And I'm kind of trying to do this as quickly as I can. Right now I'm really only focused on the first couple of inches so I can finish up the rest of the handle later. Just kind of square it off like that. Again, we're working on the fork. Now we'll work on where those tines are going to be. I'm going to go ahead and guess how long I want the tines to be when I get done with this. You will pick up some length when you stretch this out, so a little shorter than you think off the edge of the anvil. I just start to flatten that down. Working the edge back a little bit. Again, that's going to stretch you out a little bit. And you're really trying to make that stretch evenly on both sides of this square piece inside. Otherwise your fork will be offside. So you see what I did there? Now I'm about 1/4 inch longer than I want to be, so I'm going to nip that end off, and then we're going to split it for the tines. Now I got a piece of sacrificial steel down there. Actually, this rebar is a little long for me to reach it, but I'm a little too long on the tongs, so I'm just going to nip off about 1/4 inch. Just like that, and then I'll come back and I'll split this. Matter of fact, I'll put my line in now so I know where I'm going. Now I use a shorter chisel for this, and that allows me to work the steel little by little. In case I start working off to one side, I can come back to the other side and try to even the amount of steel that each time's going to get. There's my mark. Go back and I'll come back and finish this cut. Actually work backwards so you can see it better here. Alright. I think we'll make it. And up here I tip this chisel at a bit of an angle to get a nice clean cut there on the tines. Kind of see what we got going on there. Cool down my chisel, get back to the fire. Now because I flattened that out first, I shouldn't have to do a whole lot of work on these tines. But see how I just kind of spread that apart on the edge of the anvil, get in as close as I can, and just kind of get some shape on these. What these tines are going to want to do because of that chisel cut is they're going to want to roll on you. So I'm just squaring those edges off so that I can work this without it rolling too much. Plus I'm trying to get in as tight as I can. So I have a cleaner area up in here, but all I did was square those off, so now I can go ahead and shape them as I want without worrying about them rolling. You gotta watch your heat though, those tines will melt quick. Alright, for my next move here, I want the inside of the V heated, or the handle heated more than the tines. If you see what I did, and this may be a good trick for some of you guys, I stacked my coal up around the handle, but left the tines hanging in the air there. Where the heck are they? There they are. And they'll get hot, but not as hot as what's underneath that coal. So I'm basically making an oven over the handle, and that allows me to do more of a spot heat without melting those tines off. What I like to try to do is clean up this area in between, and very often I'll clamp this into the anvil and then take the cross peen and just kind of work that down in the anvil. And it doesn't take a whole lot, but just to round that off in there. There's a few ways you can do this, but even here, which isn't ideal, I was able to clean that up inside that V, just to get rid of the cut marks. Alright, by flattening that steel out before I cut it, I don't have a whole lot of work to do on the tines. And I'll tell you, when any project you do with rebar, if you're drawing it out to something pointy like this tine right here, work the point back. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself splitting that end out a lot easier. If you work from here out, you're going to end up with a split on the end, or it happens all the time. So very carefully bring yourself down to a point on that. We'll do the other side. I don't even round them anymore. I'd use the file to dress them anyway. And we're almost done. We'll go ahead and do the other one and hope we don't end up with a split. That ruins the day. My anvil's a bit cold too. That doesn't help. Again, from the point, work it back. I use that a lot for a lot of different projects, but especially on rebar. This rebar and stainless steel seem to split very easily. Alright, we'll call that done. The next step, what we need to do is go ahead and bend those tines around. Alright, so I haven't made up a good tool for this yet. This is the old chisel off the old Harbor Freight anvil, but it's narrow. You see the narrowness there, and it's rounded on the edge. So I use that for now. Something like this, a piece of steel clamped into the vise, a nice curved area in there, and thin enough for those tines. That's what we're going to use. Alright, here we go. So, like I said, not the best tool that I have, but push that straight up against that. Bring this tine around on this side. Flip that over now because it doesn't fit my hardy hole very well. Bring that tine up on that side, and you see what we got going on here now. We're not uniform, right? So I'll bring that back out. Boy, I wish that fit a little better. Shit. We'll go to the nose and do it then. So I brought that back out, and I'll hold this away a little bit as I bend that over. Yeah, I need to get a tool made for this. See, I was able to bring that back a little bit, and I can work this side just the opposite and give it more of a hammer up here. And now I'd say that's darn close enough for me anyway. So there's our tines. Not bad. Next thing I'm going to do is draw this handle out a little bit. I go with this anvil, I think it's a 4-inch anvil. I go the length of the anvil, maybe a little bit more. And that's what my handle's going to be. I'll get it down to pretty close to the right dimensions down here, and I'll nip this off. So again, I'm just going to work down here on the fork area, get that narrowed down to where I want it to be without messing anything up. And the size is up to you, you know. I used to go down to where it starts to make a good square dimension. You can do whatever you want. Actually, usually I actually work that area before I even put the tines in, so by mistake I don't hit those tines and mess them up. But I'm okay with this dimension here. I'm going to nip it off just a little past what I got squared here, and we'll turn it around. What happens is, if you're trying to draw this out to the right length, you're messing up the rebar or the stock for the next piece that you make. And you got a heat sink here. All this is drawing away heat. So get what you need on this end, nip it off, and then turn it around. It'll work a lot quicker. There we go, recording. Alright, so I'm guessing how far I can draw the rest of this out. So I'm just going to go a little bit farther than that. Now, if you're doing a set, it's going to be critical, but you can always trim later. But of course, it's better not to be wasting the steel. Nip that off. flip this around on the fire. We'll finish drawing out that handle, and then we'll put the decorative twists and the hook in. Now, we'll just finish up this handle. Again, I'm going for 1/4 inch, 5/16 square, something like that. The nice thing about this project is it can be rough. It's not supposed to be a delicate looking utensil. It's okay to taper out towards the end because we're going to taper that anyway. I'm going for about square. And pretty close to straight too, because what we're going to do now is put that twist in. So I kind of want this area in here straight. Looks good. A little thick, but it's good enough for now. Alright, so I put this in the anvil. I have a little bit of the handle down in the anvil. What I like to do, just to dress it up a little, is I'll grab down here where it's low, and I'll do a twist of some sort. Something like that. And then I'll come up here higher, and I'll twist it again. And that gives you just a little different look. You could actually hold the center there if you wanted to, but it gives me kind of a tight twist on the bottom and a more spirally twist on the top. Alright, so I go back. See if I can bring it quickly. Yeah, I can. With the wooden hammer, and I just kind of straighten all that out so that handle is close to straight. And again, you may or may not like it. Where am I? But where am I? There you go. See, you know, there's a couple of different twists in there. Just, I don't know, just, I like the way it looks. That's what I do. That's why I do it. Alright, we're almost there. What we need to do now is put a taper on the end for the hook, and we're done. Alright, so I got quite a bit of area here after that twist, so I don't really need to stretch it out any. I'm just going to go ahead and taper that down. We're going to go down to a pretty fine point, so again, work the point back so you don't split this thing too far out. Even then, it'll split on you sometimes. I mean, it's just, I haven't figured it out totally, but I certainly know that if I get that point down first and then work it back, I'm much less likely to split. I don't know, I'm looking for 3.5 inches maybe of steel to work with there, and we'll put that hook on now. So the first thing I like to do where I think that hook's going to start is I like to go ahead and put a bend in the opposite direction, just a little like that. And what that allows me to do is bring this hook around. Alright, and by putting that bend in, I don't know, it puts the center of gravity in the center of the hook rather than off to the edge when it's hanging. Plus it looks a little cool like that too. So there's my the hook. We'll just put a curl on the end and brush her up. Alright, this doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of heat. Just roll that up with your scrolling pliers or a needle nose or whatever it is you use. I like to go a little past one round. Sometimes I take another heat to do that because you don't want to break it, and one round's pretty common. You go a little farther, puts it in, I don't know, gives a little bit of structure. So you see, where am I here? I'll go a little farther. I can't see what I'm doing, but it feels right. Straighten that off. Come down here so you can see what I'm doing before I lose my heat. Let me just heat it again. That's about where it would work. Down here, draw it off, and then, you know, do what you need to do to be happy with that curve. I like it. We're going to check to see how everything lines up here. Doesn't look too bad. My fork's got a bit of a twist in that direction. So I'm just going to go to the vise here quickly. Oh, I'll take you, what the hell. So my fork's off this way. I'm just going to bring it back this way. Make sure you got enough heat to do that. You don't want to snap anything. Once I'm happy with the orientation, I clench it. I like to put it, you know, it's not hardening the rebar, but it does give it a little bit of a springiness, which I think is good. And there you have it. Where am I? I can't find myself today. Alright, so there's the shape. Not too bad, I don't know, 15 minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes of forging. Probably more like 15. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the vise with a file and round these corners out, put some points on. You can do this in a million different ways. You can use the grinder or whatever, but I like hitting it with the file. It's kind of a, you know, this is a, I don't know, it's kind of a traditional, colonial, I don't know, Civil War. There's some tradition in it. It deserves a few seconds with a hand tool like a file. So I put the tines partly into the vise so that I have good structure or good support there. And I just work the outside around. Doesn't take long, guys. And I work the inside around. And you can do as much or as little as you want to do. It really doesn't need it at all. Depending on how good of a point you put on the time when you forge it. But it only takes a couple of minutes. And like I said before, I like the fact that it puts, I don't know, a hand-touch authentic finish to it. But that being said, very often I'll go to the bench grinder and polish them up too. So that one's a little bit on the thick side, but you get the idea. There you have it. A little time on the wire brush, clean it up, makes it nice and pretty. And you can do these in a half an hour if you keep moving. So there's the fork. We'll go ahead and do the spoon next. Stay tuned for that video.